Hello, my friends. If you are looking to scale your private practice to six figures or even beyond that, and you are currently feeling overwhelmed or like you just cannot make it through your to do list each day, this episode is for you. We are going to dive into when and why to hire a virtual assistant because it might be the next right step for your business. And of course, we're going to cover all of the details on how to actually go about hiring one. Hiring a virtual assistant is one of the very first things I suggest doing as a therapist once your caseload starts to fill up, because it is going to help you give yourself time back to do the things that you love while continuing to grow and scale your business. Okay, let's get into it. We're going to cover the who, what, where, when, why, and how. So, we're going to start with the when. So, as I mentioned, hiring a virtual assistant is one of the first things I suggest you do once your caseload starts to fill up and you really get to a point where you are needing to choose between taking on another client, catching up on your notes, or doing social media, right? If you get to the point where you are having to make these tough decisions on what to prioritize, hiring a virtual assistant to actually help you do some of these tasks can be a really, really amazing thing to do. It's going to help you feel less overwhelmed by the amount of admin tasks that you do. And it's going to help you get time back to focus on your marketing and your clients, right? So if you're having a hard time getting it done between sessions, this is a very, very good move for you and your business. Likely at this stage, right, if you are having to pick between taking on a new client or doing other work, you are probably at this spot in your business where your revenue can support the extra expense, right? We don't want virtual assistants to cause, extra stress about how are you going to afford to pay them. They should make sense in your business. And at this point, they really do, right? Because let's say you take on one extra client for $250 a session, that could fund 10 hours of virtual assistant work per week at a rate of $25 an hour, right? Maybe you're making less than that. Maybe you only need a virtual assistant for 5 hours a week, right? Whatever it is. Maybe you want to work and see two clients to cover that cost. It's really up to you. But my point is that there is going to be a big pay discrepancy between what you're paying a virtual assistant, around $25 an hour, and what you are getting paid. And so buying back your time should feel really good. Yes, it's normal for like some uncomfortable feelings to come up around investing in your business, maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome there, but that's okay. We just don't want it to be like an actual financial stressor. Make sense? So I hired someone just 1 month into being full time in my practice. I was 6 months into like having started my practice part time, and it was really, really helpful. We will talk more about that in a little bit. So, why do I think that you should hire a virtual assistant? So, you can maintain a full caseload and grow your Instagram presence on your own. But if you have a goal to launch additional offers, if you have a goal to build an email list, if you have a goal to create a course or get brand deals, you're going to need more support in order to avoid burning out, right? There's only so much that one person can do. And so if you want to scale beyond one-on-one clients and Instagram, you definitely need systems and support to make that growth sustainable. Now, even if you don't have plans to scale, right, and you're like, I'm good with one-on-one therapy, I just want to do Instagram so I can keep my caseload full, that's goals for me, right? I feel really good with that. You may still decide to hire a virtual assistant because it will make your practice feel a lot more sustainable long term. And as a therapist, your time is incredibly valuable, right? So going back to this like financial example, if you charge $250 per session, it doesn't make sense for you to spend hours and hours on tasks that somebody else could complete for $25 an hour, right? Even just taking on one additional client per week could get you 10 hours of support in your business. And that is time that could move your business forward, right? That's time that you could see additional clients. It's time that you could film and create more content. It's time that you could film for brand deals or plan a course launch. Or just as importantly, step away from your computer and from Instagram and enjoy the benefits of being your own boss, right? Maybe you want to go to Pilates class, or you want to go out to lunch, or you want to start picking your kid up at 3 o'clock, right? You can do all of these things when you are not the only person who is doing any work in your business, right? And by doing that, it's going to help you feel less burnt out and more fulfilled by your work because you're going to be working in your zone of genius, right? Your zone of genius is that intersection where you're doing the work that you love, the work that you're great at, the work that leaves you feeling energized and fulfilled. And when you are working in that space, you are far more likely to be excited about your work, good at your work, and to continue to do your work and to be in your business long term, right? It is hard to feel inspired with content, even with your clients when you're being weighed down by tedious admin tasks or if you constantly feel behind, right? That feeling of like never catching up is going to be really toxic in your business. So we really want to spend some time identifying what are the tasks that you love doing, what are the tasks that only you can do, and where can you get support, right? So obviously as a clinician, you are the only one who can provide therapy to your clients, right? You're the only one who can complete your treatment plans, who can complete your session notes. You're the only one who can show up and film a reel of you on camera, right? If we want to use your voice, we want to use your face, that's got to be you. But beyond that, many, many, many responsibilities in your practice and in your marketing can be delegated. And so the goal is to slowly identify those, remove them from your to-do list, and pass them off to a virtual assistant on your team. So what I want you to do this week is to audit your time. I want you to track everything that you do and write it down. It could be on pen and paper, it could be in a Google Sheet or an Excel. However you want to do it is totally fine, right? But I want you to write it down, from everything of like answering emails, replying to comments, rescheduling client, making this Canva graphic. Like, write down what you're doing and how long it's taking you. And then at the end of the week, I want you to go through and highlight what are the tasks that only you can complete. What are the tasks that truly, truly, truly have to be you? And then look at what's left, right? And maybe work to slowly pass those things off to a virtual assistant. This can be the start of your job description. Okay, so let's talk about what might end up coming up as a result of this time audit. So one of the very first things I always suggest offloading to a virtual assistant is Instagram graphics, right? It is very low risk to have them create the Instagram graphics for you. And it is very high reward because it is something that is time consuming and it is frustrating. And it is something that helps you to get therapy clients. So you get like an actionable payoff from it. Now, I do recommend writing the copy of your post because you know your clients best, but you can have them design the graphic in Canva or Adobe Express. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds, right? Your brand voice is still there. It's still authentic. You're writing the copy yourself, but you're not having to spend hours putting it together as a graphic designer. This is the very first thing I offloaded in my business, and I hired my sister to do it. She was in medical school at the time, looking for a little extra income, something flexible she could do, and she started making my Canva graphics, and it was very, very nice to not have to worry about that. Of course, with any task, it might take a little bit of back and forth in the beginning to like have somebody orient to exactly how you want things to be done. Ideally, we have your brand colors picked out, we have your font picked out. So this style will generally be there, but it's your job as a boss to give feedback, right? Let them know what you like, let them know what edits you want to make. I use a website called Loom where it actually like screen records my computer and it puts my face in a little bubble and I can talk them through it. So instead of just making edits and posting it, I will make edits and say, here's what I'm making and why and how I'm thinking about it, and I'll send it to them. So that way the next time they make a graphic, we're getting closer to exactly how I want it. Okay, other things that a virtual assistant can do. They can write your captions, they can edit your videos, they can actually take your reels and your graphics and post them on Instagram. They can engage and comment on other people's stuff or reply to your comments. They can repurpose content across platforms, right? So maybe you want to post your Instagram onto TikTok or Pinterest or Google My Business. They can write blogs. They could schedule a blog post. They could do basic website edits. If you are scaling, they can make freebies. They can help do the back end of your email list. They can design the course slides. They can make the worksheets. They can upload the course material, right? Basically all the tech behind the scenes stuff. This one takes a little bit longer, I find, for most people, myself included. But once that trust is built, they can certainly help you with managing your email, with appointment scheduling, right? Something I've done is having team members actually like draft email responses for me and leave them in my inbox. And so I'm still able to read through, like add my own personalized touch, make sure that everything feels good. But having that first draft done has been really, really helpful as well, right? anything that involves copy and writing, I do think is very important that it is your own messaging, right? We are not talking about hiring a professional copywriter. Those charge, very similarly to therapists, like several $100s per hour. We're talking about like entry level work as a virtual assistant. And so I would not pass off the brains of your marketing to this person, right? The goal is that they can do the task to help it come together and make it easier. So you should be writing your copy, you should be writing your messaging. If you're doing, scaling stuff, you should be writing your freebies, your emails, your worksheets, your course slides, but then they can help bring it to life with design, with uploading things, with setting up the tech automations, all of that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So who are we hiring? I suggest hiring someone that being a virtual assistant is not their full-time job, right? Instead, bring on somebody that you can train. We do not need somebody that comes into this with a bunch of skills, especially you guys are just learning how to do this Instagram stuff. It's okay. Like, they can learn alongside you. You do not have like super complicated systems. The same way you've been able to figure it out, they can figure it out. And I, in general, think that hiring like grad students is amazing. Some of the best virtual assistants on my team have been social work grad students. And that's been like really nice for them. They're passionate about it. It is helpful if they need to write like copy ever. They kind of get the mental health space. They're interested. They're wanting to learn and get that feedback. Maybe moms who want part-time work. Maybe it's a friend or relative. Like I said, I hired my sister when she was in medical school and wanted part-time work. But I find hiring somebody whose main job is not being a virtual assistant is helpful, because when they're like a little bit cheaper, right? So if somebody owns a business and this is their full-time gig and it's their career, they're probably charging $40, $50. And I don't think that most virtual assistant tasks are worth that amount. And so instead, hiring somebody that you can train, I think, is a lot better. I would definitely look for somebody professional, somebody open to feedback, I think is super important. Somebody with strong organizational skills, a self-starter, an aesthetic eye. I think it's a bonus if they have like familiarity with the mental health industry. Like, again, a grad student is really nice. But yeah, we really just kind of want to focus on those soft skills versus like they have to come in and know everything right away, right? My sister had never even opened Canva when I hired her. She was able to play around with it, figure it out quite quickly, the same way that I had taught myself, right? And was totally fine. Again, there are some people who do this as their job. There's also agencies who will like basically manage your virtual assistant for you, but those are oftentimes expensive. They have a more strict idea of what they will and won't do. They require like, rigid retainers. And I just find hiring people individually who are doing this as like a part-time side hustle has a lot more flexibility and better payoff. Okay, so where do you find these folks? I've used a variety of different platforms to hire people for my team. My number one recommendation is using your own network, right? So post on your professional Instagram, post on your personal Instagram and say, hey, I'm hiring a virtual assistant. This is the pay. Emphasize the flexibility of the job. It's remote, flexible schedule. Maybe share 3 or 4 bullet points of like the type of work they're going to do. You can say DM me to apply, email me to apply, that kind of thing. Again, I hired my sister first, and then I hired several grad students this way. Super, super helpful. The other option is going through a VA matchmaking service. So this woman, Sarah Wiles, she has a training program for virtual assistants, very similar to like Private Practice Academy, where it teaches them the skills that they need to be able to be an effective virtual assistant. And then something she offers those graduates as a service is she will match them with people who are looking to hire a virtual assistant. And we benefit from that because it is free, right? So we are able to like fill out this form of what you're looking for, rates, etc. And she will match you with an alumni of her program. She'll actually send you several matches, and then you can do interviews and go from there. So I think that between those 2 options, you should be able to hire somebody. I've hired, again, people from Instagram stories. I've used her matchmaking service several times. Super, super helpful. Okay, so how? What comes next? And I will include the link to that matchmaking service in the show notes as well. So that way you can easily find it and check it out if you're looking to hire somebody. Okay, so lastly, how? right? So once you post on Instagram, once you fill out the matchmaking form, you are going to gather a few options. I would pick your favorite 3 to 5 people and set up an interview, right? These should be pretty casual. This is not like a very strenuous job. What we are really looking for is personality fit, willingness, openness, flexibility, communication. Like those are the most important things because those are hard to teach. The rest of the stuff, like somebody should be able to figure out pretty easily. So I would ask, like, why are they excited about the role? What do they do if they are unsure how to use a system or do a task, right? Or looking to see that they are not just going to say, oh, I'd ask a question, but can they Google? Will they watch a YouTube video? Will they tinker with it and try and figure it out? I would ask whether or not they can commit to the role for at least a year. You don't want to kind of have someone new like cycling through every few months. I would ask how they stay organized and prioritize a long task list, right? You're looking for something you don't have to micromanage with this stuff. And then I would tell them the pay and ask them if they are comfortable with that. Again, I find $20, $25 an hour is perfectly acceptable for this kind of role. It's not a highly skilled position, but do what feels good to you there. For most therapists, I think 5 to 10 hours a week is plenty. Track your time and see, right? When you go through that list, see how many hours a week of stuff do you have that you could get off of your list. And then, tell the person like it's going to be flexible. The idea here is they're going to be submitting like a little timesheet and an invoice of exactly what they did, like how long it took them. So maybe some weeks you're posting a few more times, you have a little more stuff. Maybe some weeks you have a little bit less. That's okay. If you are a alumni of Private Practice Academy, we have all kinds of stuff in there for you with like job descriptions, contracts, helpful information around onboarding, all of that. So make sure to check it out. Okay, so to wrap up, if you want to scale your business and have more time to do the things you love, I would definitely consider making your first hire as a virtual assistant. Think about what you could do if you had 10 hours back per week, right? That is a lot of time to be taking on additional clients, spending time with your family, pitching and getting brand deals, thinking about scaling beyond one-on-one, batching your content for the week so you're not scrambling every day, right? That is a lot of time in your business for $250 a week. That would feel so, so good. So let's recap the steps. I want you to first do an audit of your time and figure out the tasks that you could pass on. We don't have to pass them on all at once. What is the goal in an ideal situation when we eventually get to the point of delegating all of this? We are going to use that to make a job description. Then we are going to post on Instagram about hiring, and we are going to submit the form to the matchmaker, which is linked in the show notes. Interview 3 to 5 people and hire them, right? I want you to think of hiring a VA as a strategy to scaling your business. It is a great investment. If you are somebody who is ending every week with items still on your to-do list, getting those things done is going to help move your business forward, and they do not all need to be done by you. All right. Thank you for listening, my friends. I will catch you in the next episode.